Steelers fans, free agency is right around the corner, so it's time to look at the guys that the Steelers could be pursuing in this free agency period. I'm going to be breaking down the top 25 names that the Steelers could be getting in free agency, but before we get into today's action, go ahead and subscribe to the channel right now. We are only 34 subscribers away from 21,000 here on the channel. We have been growing like crazy over the last couple of weeks. Really appreciate everybody out there that has subscribed over the last couple of weeks here to start off the offseason. But we're starting to get into live show territory here, guys. So starting next week, Thursday, we're not going to do a live show tomorrow. I know I announced that yesterday. We're not going to be doing our live show tomorrow because of weather. We're having some really bad weather here in Dallas. We're expecting to get more bad weather, so we're canceling this week's live show, but next Thursday will be our first live show. So if you want to get notified whenever we go live here on the channel, whenever we have breaking news, whenever we go live on Thursdays, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you always get notified when we go live here on Steelers Talk. All right, let's get into the first name on my list here, which is Orlando Brown Jr., the left tackle from Kansas City. He's going to be playing in the Super Bowl this year. He's going to be very, very pricey. So if the Steelers want to go get a guy like Orlando Brown Jr., they're going to have to clear a ton of cap space, and they're going to have to make a major, major commitment, and Kansas City's going to have to let him go, essentially, because, you know, Orlando Brown, he's somebody that has done very, very well with the Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, they're making the Super Bowl. He's probably a top 10 left tackle in the National Football League, so it's very unlikely, in my opinion, that the Chiefs let him go. I think that this is something that's not overly realistic, but he is slated to be a free agent this offseason, so it's worth mentioning his name just in case the Chiefs let him hit the open market. Number 2 on my list, Jakobi Meyers, and the expected value here for him is 4 years, $50 million. So those numbers on the bottom there, that is the expected market value for these players. And right now, Jakobi Meyers for $50 million, 4 years, I think that's about a fair price. But for the Steelers, I think that this is a bit more of an unlikely scenario because I don't think they're going to want to spend a ton of money at wide receiver. They're already paying Deontay Johnson a ton of money, and they're paying their defense a ton of money. Minkah's got a big contract. TJ's got a big contract. I don't think they're going to want to spend big money on a wide receiver, but Jakobi Meyers is one of the best guys on the market. Then number 3 is a name that's been thrown around a ton on Steelers Twitter over the last couple of weeks. A lot of people want to bring in Tremaine Edmunds, and right now Spotrac.com has his market value at 4 years, $44 million. So that's just $11 million per year. That's not bad, right? That's not terrible, but because of the Roquan Smith contract where he got $20 million per year, and Tremaine Edmunds is one of the best and highest producing linebackers in the league, my guess is he's going to ask for at least $15 million. So as far as inside linebacker players go, I don't think Tremaine Edmunds is going to be a possibility. I think he's going to price himself outside of the Steelers' price range because in order to get a guy like this, the Steelers are going to have to make some really significant cuts, and I don't think they're going to be willing to do that. Number 4 here on the list is Mike McGlinchey, one of the best right tackles in the National Football League, played for the Niners this season. He really, really did a great job, and you could get him for 4 years, $43 million, according to Spotrac.com. Now, right tackle is a position where, you know, it's going to be interesting to see what the Steelers do, right? You got Dan Moore Jr. and Chukwuma Okorafor under contract for 2023. I think they're going to cut Chukwuma Okorafor, so the big question is going to be, do they want to keep Dan Moore Jr. at left tackle, or do they want to move him over to right tackle? If they want to keep Dan Moore Jr. at left tackle, Mike McGlinchey, one of the best right tackles in football, if the 49ers can't afford to bring him back, the Steelers could bring him in, and he could be an elite option on that right side to protect Kenny Pickett. All right, another player here, Jamel Dean, cornerback from Tampa Bay. He's one of the best zone cornerbacks in the National Football League, in my opinion. You can get him at a very hefty price here, 3 years, $49 million per season. That would be another big contract added to the Steelers defense. I'm not quite sure I want to do that, and I'm not sure if he would really want to come to a Steelers team that doesn't really fit his style of play, in my opinion. So in my opinion, you know, although Jamel Dean's a big name, someone that's a really good player, I don't really see him coming to the black and gold in 2023. All right, guys, go into the comment section right now and tell me, how confident are you in Omar Khan and the Steelers front office to deliver a really good offseason for the black and gold? Scale it on a scale of 1 to 10, and this is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. So whenever you get an ad break, just go ahead and go into the comment section, find that pinned comment, and answer today's question. All right, next on my list is Marcus Peters. And right now, the Steelers could get him for a pretty decent price. 2 years, $20 million. That is a 8-figure contract there, so it's still pretty expensive for somebody that hasn't put up fantastic production. He's mostly a press man corner. The Steelers like to mix up their looks, so I'm not sure if Marcus Peters is a real great fit there, but he is a big name, which is why he is on the list. Then you got Dalton Risner, someone that played guard for the Broncos this year. Actually did a pretty decent job. He was about league average in terms of PFF grading, and the Steelers could get him for 4 years, $38 million, according to Spotrac.com. So if you want to replace like a Kevin Dotson this offseason and you want to go get a free agent to replace him, I think that's unlikely, but if they're going to do it for anybody, it's going to be for Dalton Risner, somebody that's kind of a bigger name, high draft pick, and I really do think that the Steelers are going to stick with what they have on the interior. I think that they like Kevin Dotson. I think they like James Daniels. I think they're going to roll with Mason Cole. They might draft somebody, a developmental prospect, to replace one of those guys in the future, but I just don't see it in the cards for the Steelers to go get a guard. All right, guys, next on my list here is Patrick Peterson, the number 1 cornerback for the putrid Minnesota Vikings defense this past season. He's getting a bit older. He's probably going to be looking to win a championship, so I'm not sure how interested he would be in the Steelers. But if the Steelers signed him, Spotrac.com says that they could get him for a 1-year contract, $6.5 million. That's a pretty fair asking price if you ask me for Patrick Peterson. He's still a pretty decent player, but he's no longer the shutdown, lockdown, number 1 cornerback he used to be in his younger days. I really don't see him coming to the black and gold either, but he is an option that is out there. Then again, another right tackle scenario here that the Steelers could take advantage of. Jawan Taylor, the former first-round pick, really struggled out of the gate of his career, but had a pretty solid 2022 campaign with the Jaguars. The Steelers could get him for 3 years, $17.5 million. So once again, it's not the least expensive contract on this list. But if you wanted to keep Dan Moore Jr. on that left side, you want to bring someone in to replace Chukwuma Okorafor at right tackle, Jawan Taylor is somebody that could be an option. And then another name that gets thrown around Steelers Twitter a lot is James Bradberry. James Bradberry, probably one of the best, if not the best cornerback on this list in NFL free agency period in this cycle, this offseason, right? 3 years, $51.5 million is a significant asking price for somebody that was just released by the Giants last year, right? He really helped his stock out with his play with the Eagles this year. Really good zone corner. I'm not really sure how well he fits into the Steelers scheme because they wanted to play more man this year. So if they're looking to shift to more of a man style defense, I'm not sure how well James Bradberry fits. And then, of course, it would be another massive contract, and the Steelers would have to make some real serious cuts to bring Bradberry to Pittsburgh. All right, guys, you got a question or idea you want to run by me, go ahead and go and interact with me on my Twitter or Instagram. I'm at Jack_Sperry on Twitter, and then I'm at sparedog.football on Instagram. So if you got a Steelers question, you want to run by your Steelers mock draft through me, you can go ahead and do that on Twitter or Instagram. Again, I'm at Jack_Sperry and then at sparedog.football. All right, next player on this list here, Sterling Shepard. Somebody that has dealt with a ton of injuries over the last couple of years, and because of that, who knows what his market value is going to be. It seems like every single season he gets hurt, but when he's healthy, he's one of the best short to intermediate route runners in the National Football League. The Steelers could really use him in the slot. In my opinion, he's a really, really good slot receiver. So, if he was healthy, I would say he's probably worth $12 million a year. But with all the injuries, with the injury proneness, I would suspect maybe $4, $5, maybe $6 million per season, maybe a 1-year contract, a prove-it kind of deal. I really don't know what Shepard's going to go for, but if the Steelers could get him for like $4 million, I would definitely bring him on. Next on the list, another right tackle prospect here, Caleb McGarry. 4 years, $70 million is going to be a significant investment if the Steelers bring him in, which is why he's not super high on my list. But he's somebody that's graded well, somebody that's a really good player. He's worth $70 million for a reason, guys. I really think that he's a good player. But at the end of the day, I don't think the Steelers are going to be looking for right tackle like I've said with the other guys. Next guy on my list, TJ Edwards, the linebacker out of Philly. One of the more underrated players in the National Football League, in my opinion. The Eagles front seven is really, really good. partly because of this guy. Yes, they have a great defensive line, but they also have great linebacker play. TJ Edwards is somebody that's not going to command the kind of salary that a Tremaine Edmunds is going to command, in my opinion. I expect it to be more around the $11-12 million range for TJ, which is more doable if you are the Pittsburgh Steelers. Next up, Dalvin Tomlinson, a defensive tackle here, 3 years, $25 million. That's quite an asking price given that he really didn't do all that great in Minnesota's defense this year. So for me, I don't think Dalvin Tomlinson is somebody bringing him in as a run stuffer. I don't think that he's a great fit, especially for the asking price there for the Steelers. And then you got Jermaine Pratt, linebacker from the Bengals. One of the best linebackers in football as well. He's not quite on like a Tremaine Edmunds level, but you see by the salary there, his market value is 4 years, $42.5 million. That's over $10 million per season. And if you're a linebacker making over $10 million per season, you are pretty good. All right, guys, go ahead and tell me, should the Steelers sign an inside linebacker this free agency period? Type Y if you think yes, or type N if you think no. All right, now we're getting into the real candidates for the Steelers, in my opinion. Leighton Vander Esch is somebody that's a good player, somebody that's going to be worth around $7 million, has dealt with neck injuries for his entire career, right? He's dealt with a bunch of different injuries, but this last year with the Cowboys played really, really well. Somebody that I think is going to maybe not get to that $10 million range, but someone that's going to get close to that on a 2-year deal. I think he would be great for the Steelers to bring in. And then an interesting one here for the Steelers, Julio Jones on a 1-year, $2 million deal. You can kick Deontay Johnson inside. Deontay Johnson's one of the best route runners in the National Football League, and he's a bit smaller. He's not really built to play on the outside, so it might make sense to go get a true X receiver like Julio Jones, who can be a great mentor to a guy like George Pickens, and then kick Deontay Johnson inside where he can just kick linebackers' asses with his fantastic elite route running ability. I think that would be a very interesting idea, and especially because you could probably get Jones for a really low contract. All right, now a cornerback prospect here or target that's really interesting is Jonathan Jones from the Patriots. Right, he's going to be worth around 2 years, $25 million, according to Spotrac.com, which is pretty decent for the amount of production that he had in New England this year. Now, the thing about Patriot players is that usually they grade really well in New England, and then when they leave, they don't do nearly as well. So that scares me off, Jonathan, a bit much here. I think he had a really great year in 2022, but I just don't see him succeeding as a member of the Black and Gold. All right, now we examined the outside receiver, right, Julio Jones. Now here's an option at slot receiver. If you want to keep Deontay Johnson on the outside, bring in somebody that can compete with Calvin Austin III there in the slot. You could go with Jamison Crowder. Jamison Crowder is somebody that's been in this league a long time, can still get open. He dealt with a pretty big injury. He's getting a bit older, so that's why he's going to be worth a 1-year, $2 million contract this upcoming season. But he might be somebody, a good veteran, someone that's tough, somebody that the Steelers might consider bringing in. Next on the list, I've talked about Isaiah Wynn on the show before, someone that's dealt with injuries this past year, did not grade well this year. He is a significant risk if the Steelers bring him in, especially at that 5-year, $77 million contract that he is expecting to sign this year if he is cut by the New England Patriots. And at the end of the day, guys, I think that Isaiah Wynn is somebody that's graded well in the past, but there is a ton of risk involved with him. And if the Steelers sign him, I'm not sure how comfortable I would be with that because of all the risk that is involved with signing a guy like Isaiah Wynn. All right, guys, go ahead in the comment section before I reveal the last 5 names on my list, the 5 most likely free agent targets for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Name a player that you want the Steelers to sign in free agency this offseason. So this is somebody that we haven't talked about before on the channel, but somebody that I think the Steelers could definitely have their eye on. Bobby Okereke, the inside linebacker from the Indianapolis Colts, graded pretty darn well this year, actually the last couple of years, and you look at that contract, only 2 years, $4.7 million. It's just over $2 million per season for someone that's graded well, someone that's been a pro in this league, somebody that you know can handle their business on the National Football League stage. I think that this is somebody that you can inject as a starter in this Pittsburgh Steelers defense, and it won't really skip a beat. And then another inside linebacker that you can definitely look into, a bit more pricey, but you also get a bit more production, is David Long Jr. from the Tennessee Titans. I really like this guy. He's one of the best he's one of the best run defenders in the National Football League, in my opinion. I think that he's really, really good at filling gaps, knowing his responsibilities, knowing the responsibilities of other players, understanding run schemes and what the offense is trying to do to attack the defense. I think he's one of the smarter linebackers in the league. And if you can get him for a 2-year, $10 million contract, only $5 million per season for someone like that, that's something that I would definitely consider taking if I were the Steelers. Now, the top receiver target, in my opinion, for the Steelers this upcoming free agency period is Jarvis Landry, the old school, very tough, very savvy veteran that can go in the slot, great run blocker, extremely tough, great leader in your locker room. This guy is Pittsburgh Steeler written all over him, in my opinion, and you could probably get him for a $3 million contract. That's what he played for in New Orleans last year. He's coming off an injury. I would expect that he would be around the same in terms of market value this year. I'm really excited to see if the Steelers can land Landry here and add him to the wide receiver room. And another guy that I think the Steelers should really look to get this free agency period is Linval Joseph, somebody that is the nose tackle for the Philadelphia Eagles right now. He's going to be playing in the Super Bowl, somebody that's really a great player in terms of just run stuffing. He's done it for a long time. He's getting a bit older. He has dealt with injuries as well. But at the end of the day, I think the Steelers are really looking to draft a nose tackle as well. And if you bring in Linval, you can have somebody that not only can play right away and have the rookie learn, but also be a great mentor for that rookie, somebody that can cultivate the skill set to become an elite run stuffer in the National Football League. And you can get him for a $2 million contract. The Steelers need to address this position in free agency. I think they'll do it by getting Linval Joseph. And finally, I think the most likely scenario here for the Steelers at offensive tackle this offseason is they go and get Taylor Lewan. And Taylor Lewan has been putting out signals all over the place that he wants to become a Pittsburgh Steeler. He's going on social media, liking pictures of him in a Steelers uniform, those kinds of edits. He's going on podcasts talking about how much he loves Mike Tomlin and how much he would love to play for him. I think that he wants to come to Pittsburgh and he wants to take that 1-year prove-it deal on a $7 million contract to prove that he still has it, right? He's dealt with 2 ACL surgeries in the last 3 seasons. He's getting in his 30s. People are starting to doubt that Taylor Lewan still has it. I think he wants to prove that he does in Pittsburgh next year. I think the Steelers will end up signing him to be their left tackle for 2023. All right, guys, that is my complete list. Let me know what you think of it in the comment section, and don't forget to subscribe for daily and free Steelers news and rumors videos. We got a bunch of great stuff coming up here over these next couple days. We're going to have another mock draft. We got draft targets. We got all these different great types of videos that are coming out here over these next couple days. So make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications whenever we put out new videos.